Hello, everybody, and happy Easter. My name is Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and I'm the host of a podcast titled The Truth That Heals. So if you've been listening to my podcast, or perhaps you've been reading my blogs, you may have noticed that I've been talking an awful lot about this movement called the Alliance of the Two Hearts. Now, this movement was founded by a priest by the name of Father Edgardo Arellano. People know him by the other name as Father Bing. And he has, on his side, as his sidekicks, he has Agnes Frias and Father Jose Viola. Now, I want people to understand that I'm not trying to destroy this movement. I think that spreading devotion to Jesus and Mary, that's a very beautiful thing. I believe that trying to get the family to pray together is a very beautiful thing, and I'm not against that. I'm not against families praying together. However, I am against religious abuse. Now, in my last podcast that I just dropped about a few hours ago, I was talking about the silence and the shame. Because when I left the group, I was told that I had to be silent about everything that I saw there. And what do abusers do to their victims? You want to know what they do? Is they make sure that they shut up. And what happens when a victim is gaslighted so much and manipulated so much? They start thinking, oh, maybe I deserve that abuse. Or then they'll start thinking, maybe it never happened. Maybe I'm just making it all up. And the sad truth is that these events did happen. Now, I haven't really even gotten to deeper cult tactics besides them trying to silence and manipulate the facts. But I want to talk to the followers of the Two Hearts, especially those who have fallen into this sort of Bingism. Since he's known as Father Bing, I'll just call it Bingism. They fall into this Bingism where, and I think Father Bing, he is guilty of giving off this image that he is some sort of mystic, that he is some sort of super holy person that gives him the green light to ridicule people, to talk bad about people, and he talks a lot of smack about everybody and everything that are against him. But when it came to me, I just went to Alabama just for peace, and he had to tell me, "Oh, you have to be quiet. It's a mortal sin." So why would he say that? Why would he say it's a mortal sin to talk about him? So in the Catholic Church, when a person dies, and let's say Father Bing were to die this very day, Father Bing dies. So all of his followers, I respect y'all, but the truth is, the idea is that Father Bing is going to be a saint. Now, if Father Bing is going to be a saint, what's got to happen? You know what's got to happen? Is there has to be an investigation on the life, the teachings of Father Bing. An investigation that proves that he is or that he was a holy man. So what are they going to discover when a thorough investigation is done? So supposedly, when someone is up for canonization or to be blessed servant of God, there have to be investigations onto seeing what kind of person this guy was. And I assure you, followers who are really struggling to see the truth, you will find out that many members are bitter against Father Bing, are bitter against Agnes Frias and against Father Jose and many other priests and sisters. And I've forgiven quite a lot. I try to forgive all of them. But those three, Bing, Arellano, Agnes Frias, Father Jose Viola, for me, I really don't see any repentance. Because these crimes of silencing people, they continue. These crimes of putting people in solitary confinement, isolation, not feeding their members, that continues to happen. And then they parade around the world getting money, saying, oh, we're going to use it for our community. And then that doesn't happen, because I was there, and sometimes we'd be broke like a joke. So for you followers, I respect y'all. I love you guys. But hey, I think it's time to wake up and push against this idea that Father Bing is some sort of mystic and holy. Yes, I do pray that he becomes a saint one day. But in order to be a saint, there has to be truth. Now, you might be wondering, well, how are they deceiving people? Maybe you're the deceiver. You're the one being all demonic. I mean, hey, they've called me possessed, and they've called me hexed and all that as some kind of tactic to have me shut my mouth. But you know what I think is really demonic? Is using the name of priest or nun and then abusing people. And what kind of abuse? Sexual abuse, that's happened there. There's been plenty of verbal abuse, plenty of gaslighting. There have been psychological abuse. Now, there was a member there, I remember, who he thought he was possessed. Or I guess because Father Bing always talks about the devil. And how everyone who goes against him, even bishops, how you see how the devil was infiltrating. And so this one member, I remember, he had this idea that he was possessed. And every day he would fall into like convulsions and everything. And what does Father Bing do? Oh, I got to do the exorcism. Come on, let's do the exorcism. Every day, long exorcism. I mean, there was no investigation regarding that person if he was really possessed. There was no psychological analysis. Father Bing just fed off of this guy's thought that he was possessed, and Father Bing's like, yeah, he's possessed. Let's do the exorcism. And I remember one day, and I feel bad for this guy, but hey, this is what I observed. So this guy, he's getting possessed. He's on the floor, convulsing and all that. And then he starts getting holy water and spraying himself with the holy water. And then he starts getting holy salt. And I'm thinking, well, if this guy's possessed, I mean, wouldn't he not want holy water? And Father Bing's looking at him, and he's looking at me. And at that moment, I felt, when Father Bing looked at me, that he knew that this guy isn't possessed. But Father Bing was like laughing. He was laughing during the exorcism. I was there, no one else was there, just me, Father Bing, and this poor brother. And Father Bing used that to his advantage. Oh, see, we have a possessed brother here. We got to exorcise him. See, the devil's trying to attack our community. So that's one thing, how Father Bing would use, holy things. Exorcism is supposed to remove the devil, but then he used it as a joke. And obedience. When it came to obedience, Father Bing demanded absolute obedience from all the members. From all of us. I know members who've done wicked things under the name of obedience. And so, first you have to understand, you might be thinking, why would they do, shady stuff? Like, aren't you religious? So you have to understand the idea why. Like, what idea was planted in our minds to make us to lie to people and to have, what would they call it? Mental reservation. So, oh man, they love mental reservation. So the idea is, Father Bing would say, and the rest of his followers, superiors like Agnes, if you disobey, if you go against what Father Bing or what I say, you're going against the voice of God. And that is a mortal sin. And one mortal sin, you know what that does? You go straight to hell. So me at that time, I was living in fear and trembling, not for God, but for Father Bing, and that everything that I was going to do was a mortal sin. So they really brought upon this environment of paranoia. So sometimes when I'd be on the phone calling mom and dad, hey mom, hey, how's everything? Mijo, how's everything? Oh, everything's fine. On the side, there's a brother next to me monitoring. Now, this didn't happen all the time, but it depended on who the superior was. So that's another cult-like tactic is you're really always boxed. You can't be free. And so even when I left, I felt very boxed where I couldn't speak the truth. And then what did I do? I went to therapy. And I went to therapy because my way of thinking was I deserved all the pain. I deserved all of the beatings, the being put in solitary confinement. I deserved all that. When they lied to my family, when they lied to me, and when they kept me isolated, it was all my fault. And then I went to therapy to rewire my mind into realizing that those things aren't cool. Those things aren't from God. Those things aren't godly. Now, people will tell me, well, if you're a person of God, you should be like the saints. You should just be quiet and be like the saints. Well, sometimes you got to speak up. Sometimes it takes courage to say the truth. And so for the followers, I love y'all. I wish y'all the best. But I think it would be wise if you press Father Bing and Agnes a little harder. Because we have people there in the religious communities who don't know the truth. So there are members, like when I was a member, I didn't know the whole truth. I didn't know that we were kicked out of the Diocese of Nueva Ecija. And then what would we do? We'd go back and we'd be lying to the bishop. Now I'll get into that in more detail in a future episode. But these are things that they do. The members, they're not to blame, especially those who are the religious members, like in the Sith or in the Koth. I really feel for them. And if you're a parent or a sibling, you might be thinking, well, I spoke to them the other day. They're saying that they're doing good. Well, are they doing good? I don't know. I mean, they're in a religious group that doesn't even follow the church anymore. And I say they don't follow the church because they go around lying and doing all of these crazy obediences. And going back to obedience, how I said that they plant in your mind this idea of, if you go against me, it's a mortal sin. So they would teach us that. If you go against them, it's a mortal sin. But then later on, like during my 8th, 9th year, I observed that Father Bing wasn't obeying. I mean, the bishop was saying in Delaware, you need to leave this place. And so what did he do? He was like, complaining, we'll be back. But this time when we come back, we'll be dressed incognito so they don't recognize us. And what do? They stay in the diocese, they stay hidden, they still have mass in secret. And so it puts this idea, oh man, dude, we're getting really persecuted. The end is here. And so that environment was very unhealthy for me. And it took me years to really rewire my brain, rewire my thinking. It took me years to get out of depression because it wasn't a holy, it's supposed to be holy, but it wasn't. Some parts of it were, depending on who I was around. But when I was with Father Bing, there was just two things around Father Bing. One was paranoia, and two, that he's a saint and he's being persecuted. And so you have to watch his back. So please, if you have a member who's there, continue praying for them and push Father Bing a little harder when it comes to telling the truth. You deserve to know the truth. You deserve to know what's happening to your siblings or to your family members or your sons or daughters. And I think they deserve to know the truth. It's quite hard when you've been in that cult-like environment for so long. But let me tell you, there is hope. There is room for healing. And I think the hardest part to help me in the healing process when I left was the idea that they planted in my mind, which was that everything was of the devil. Everyone was possessed. Everyone was infested. Everyone was against us. And I remember he was saying, he would use he would say the craziest shit, man. I remember on one occasion he said, 90% or 70 or 90% of those people who watch the movie The Exorcist, when they look at the eyes, infested, they get possessed. That's why the devil is so strong and blah blah blah. And then people are like, oh, like the followers or those who are listening to he's a very charismatic speaker. It's like, oh man, this guy he's spitting some facts. Oh, I don't know. I think a lot of what Father Bing says is exaggerated. And so I'm going to end it there. I hope you listen to my podcast. I'll leave a link to my show below in the description, as well as a link to my blog. If you want to comment, if you have violent reactions or you're pissed off at me, go ahead. Say it here. But if you have questions, real questions, comment what your questions are. And let's get to the facts. Let's get to the truth behind this movement. And it's not only doing good things, but in the background, they're really screwing over the members, and perhaps they're screwing over you. So let's get to the truth. Let's have a good discussion, and hopefully we can have peace. So happy Easter. God bless all of you. God bless your families, and have a good day.